hundreds of civilizations have risen on this earth. The Hittites, the Akkadians, the Indus Valley peoples, Minoan Crete. Each one burned bright and then disappeared. But one civilization kept going. For 3,000 years. Through invasions, droughts, revolutions, and foreign conquerors, Egypt was always still there. Why? What did Egypt have that no other civilization did? What decisions, what geography, what ideas allowed a collection of Nile Valley farmers to build the world's most durable state? Tonight, we answer that question from the very beginning. The first answer is the simplest one: Egypt had the Nile. That sounds obvious. Many civilizations built themselves around rivers. Mesopotamia had the Tigris and Euphrates. The Indus Valley had the Indus. Both produced great civilizations. Neither survived 3,000 years. So what was different about the Nile? 3 things. First, predictability. The Nile floods every year, and it floods on a schedule. Not randomly, not destructively, not unpredictably. Every June, the waters rise. Every October, they recede. And when they do, they leave behind a thin layer of black silt, some of the most fertile soil on Earth. Egyptian farmers didn't need to gamble on rain. They just needed to wait for the flood. This created food surplus. Food surplus created stability. Stability created civilization. Second, natural barriers. Egypt is not just a river. It's a river surrounded by impossible geography. To the east and west, the Sahara Desert, the largest hot desert on Earth. To the north, the Mediterranean Sea. To the south, the Nile's cataracts, massive granite rapids that stop boats and armies cold. Egypt was, essentially, a natural fortress. Hard to invade. Easy to defend. Third, the delta. Where the Nile meets the Mediterranean, it spreads into a vast triangle of land, a region so rich, so green, so unlike the surrounding desert that ancient Egyptians called it the Black Land. Kemet. The fertile heart of the world. Geography alone didn't save Egypt. But without it, nothing else would have mattered. For thousands of years before Egypt existed as a unified state, the Nile Valley was divided. Upper Egypt, the long, narrow river valley stretching south from modern Cairo to the First Cataract. Its people were ruled by a king who wore the white crown, a tall, bowling pin-shaped headdress the color of bone. Lower Egypt, the delta, spreading northward into the Mediterranean. Its king wore the red crown, flat, with a rising spiral at the back. These were not just different regions. They were different cultures. Different traditions. Different gods. Different ways of life. And for centuries, they were at war. Not a simple war, not one battle and done. A grinding, generational conflict over who controlled the most valuable stretch of land in the ancient world. Neither kingdom could win cleanly. The Nile Valley was too narrow and long for a quick conquest. The delta was too vast and marshy for permanent occupation. So the stalemate dragged on. It took more than geography to break it. It took a series of extraordinary individuals, rulers willing to gamble everything on a final push for total control. The first was King Scorpion I. We know almost nothing about him except one image, a carved mace head showing a king wearing the white crown performing a ritual, while lower Egyptian symbols lay symbolically at his feet. His name, a scorpion hieroglyph. His story, tantalizing fragments. Scorpion pushed north. He won battles. He opened the road. But he did not live to walk through it. That fell to the man who came after him. That fell to Narmer. Around 3100 BCE, a king of Upper Egypt fought his way north and did what none of his predecessors had managed. He conquered Lower Egypt. He united the two lands. He became the first pharaoh of a unified Egypt. His name was Narmer. We know this because of one object. A carved stone pallet, 64 centimeters tall, found at Hierakonpolis in 1898. The Narmer pallet. On one side, Narmer wears the white crown of Upper Egypt, raising a mace over a defeated enemy. Beneath him, more defeated enemies. Above him, the god Horus, the divine patron of the Egyptian king. On the other side, Narmer wears the red crown of Lower Egypt. He walks in procession, inspecting the bodies of his enemies. The message of this object is clear, deliberate, and monumental: one king. Two crowns. One Egypt. But the palette tells us something even more important than the military victory. It tells us that Narmer understood something his predecessors didn't. Conquest wasn't enough. You can win a battle. You can't win a civilization by battle alone. To truly unite two peoples, you need a story. You need symbols. You need legitimacy. Narmer didn't just conquer Lower Egypt. He performed his conquest, publicly, ceremonially, for the gods and for history. He wore both crowns. He documented everything in stone. He created the image of Egypt as a united, divinely ordained kingdom, and that image, that idea, would outlast every dynasty, every invasion, every catastrophe for the next 3,000 years. The crowns weren't just hats. They were a constitution. Narmer's unification gave Egypt a foundation. What turned that foundation into a civilization that lasted 3 millennia was the system built on top of it. 3 interlocking ideas. All Egyptian originals. The first, the double crown. By wearing both the white crown of Upper Egypt and the red crown of Lower Egypt, the pharaoh was not king of one place. He was king of all places. He didn't just rule the victors. He ruled the conquered too. Every ceremony, every image, every official document showed the double crown, a constant visual reminder that Egypt was not a conquest but a union. This mattered psychologically. Conquered people don't stay conquered unless they feel included. Egypt found a way to make both halves feel they belong to something larger. The second, Ma'at. Ma'at was the Egyptian concept of cosmic order, truth, justice, balance, harmony. It was literally the job of the pharaoh to maintain Ma'at. Not just to win wars or collect taxes, but to keep the universe in balance. This transformed the king from a military strongman into a moral institution. The pharaoh wasn't powerful because he had the biggest army. He was powerful because the gods, and the people, believed the entire world depended on his righteousness. An army can be defeated. A belief system is much harder to destroy. The third, bureaucracy. This may sound boring. It changed everything. Narmer and his successors created a professional administrative class, scribes, officials, tax collectors, engineers, who served the state, not any individual ruler. This meant that when a pharaoh died, Egypt didn't collapse. The system kept running. The Nile was managed. The grain was counted. The army was maintained. Compare this to every other ancient state. When the strong leader died, chaos. Civil war. Collapse. In Egypt, the bureaucracy sent out the same letters, collected the same taxes, maintained the same irrigation canals, regardless of who wore the crowns. 3,000 years of institutional memory. That's what Narmer built. So, back to the question we started with. Hundreds of civilizations rose and fell. The Hittites, the Akkadians, the Minoans, the Indus Valley, all gone. Why did Egypt survive? Not one reason. 4. Geography. The Nile gave Egypt food, stability, and natural defenses that no other river valley could match. It didn't guarantee survival, but it gave Egypt the time and resources to build something that could survive. Unity. Narmer's genius was not just military conquest but symbolic unification. Two peoples became one kingdom not through suppression, but through a shared identity built around the double crown and the idea of Ma'at. Divine legitimacy, the pharaoh was not just a king. He was a god. More precisely, he was the living embodiment of Horus, and upon death, he became Osiris. This divine framework made the institution of kingship bigger than any individual. You could kill a pharaoh. You couldn't kill the idea of pharaoh. Institutional continuity, the bureaucracy survived kings. It preserved knowledge, maintained infrastructure, and kept Egypt functioning across 30 dynasties and 3,000 years of history. Take any one of these away, and Egypt would have been just another forgotten civilization, a line in an archaeology textbook. Together, they built the most durable state the ancient world had ever seen. We are still digging up its ruins today. We are still decoding its writing. We still speak its names: Narmer, Khufu, Hatshepsut, Rameses, Cleopatra. 3,000 years. Ended, finally, not by war or famine or drought, but by the slow march of history. And even that isn't quite right. Because you're watching this video. Egypt never really died. It just kept going, in a different form. That's the story of why Egypt survived. If this changed how you think about ancient history, subscribe to Nile Chronicles. Every week, we go deeper. Next time, the mysterious peoples before the pharaohs, who lived in the Nile Valley before Egypt existed. I'll see you there.